Welcome to the Yesterday Football Podcast, where we watch and talk about games gone past. I'm Sebastian, here with another retro recap for you, and today we'll be taking a look at the home debut of Ronaldinho at Barcelona, taking on Sevilla. Now, as I alluded to on our last proper episode that we did, I missed most of the 03-04 season as I was over in the United States, and since David Beckham hadn't been around, nobody really cared about real football, and the other sports were just so overwhelming that nothing really made it over the pond of what was happening in Europe. When I got back, I figured this Brazilian guy playing for Barcelona was quite good, and I was wondering if anybody else had figured that out yet, and they apparently did, because Ronaldinho back in those days was just amazing. So this, I thought, was a good starting point in going back into this season, taking a look at how he arrived in Barcelona and how the jumping off point, what that looked like for him in Spain. And there's a bit of a backdrop here. 2003. It's been 4 years since Barcelona had won a trophy, and that has taken its toll on the spirit of the fan base, and Juan Laporta is voted in as the new president. Quoting Ryan Baldy here in a piece for These Football Times, which I will link in the episode's description, Laporta's aim when taking over was twofold: to, quote, reconcile debts of 150 million euros left behind by the previous regime and bring beautiful, attacking, winning football back to Barcelona, end quote. So putting the business aspect aside, if we're talking beautiful football at Barcelona circa 2003, there's only one name which comes to mind: Ronaldo de Assis Moreira, or rather Ronaldinho, who at age 22 had just moved to Barcelona, with the Catalan club paying PSG a handsome 30 million euros. I mean, nowadays looks laughable, 30 million euros, but around that time that was still a decent sum to pay for somebody who had really only spent 1 year in Europe at that point in time. He wasn't an unproven commodity. Manchester United were around as well. They couldn't really get a deal done with him, and there's always a bit of a thing where Ronaldinho might have just preferred the life of Barcelona instead of Manchester. Can't really blame him there, but that's one of those big what ifs. If he had moved to Manchester United in that summer, what would that have looked like? But he donned the Blaugrana of Barcelona, and on September 3rd, 2003, he's giving his home debut. And we're at Camp Nou in Barcelona, of course, along with 80,237 fans in attendance. And FC Barcelona are taking on Sevilla FC. Took a quick look at the ELO ratings. Barca are at 1874 and Sevilla are at 1768. So quite a bit of a discrepancy here. Barca really should run out comfortable winners. Quick note also on the date here. While we're technically playing this on Wednesday, September 3rd, due to a dispute between the two clubs and a very weird rule where the home team got to choose the kickoff time, we're actually starting off at 5 past midnight on Wednesday. So for all intents and purposes, this is really late on the Tuesday. There's still and I will also link this, there's still a match report up from Sid Lowe on The Guardian, and he goes into a bit of the background on this. There was just a dispute with the international week looming, and Barca looked like they would have lost a lot of players already on the travel for the international week, and wanted to do the match earlier than Sevilla, of course. And Juan Laporta supposedly was his call when this match went ahead, and he sort of got it into the earliest possible time on Wednesday, and they basically made a season opening fest, I would guess, out of it, with a lot of show elements. And I mean, you have to get 80,000 people in there for a midnight match. even if it's Spain and the clocks tick a bit different. It's still not a small feat, I would imagine. There's just a lot of elements here. I mean, looking at this Barcelona side, you got Rijkaard as the manager, who had just been brought in on the back of recommendation from Johan Cruyff, and Luis Enrique is still the captain with the side. And if you're taking a look at the lineups here, we have Victor Valdés in goal, Oscar Lopez, Patrick Anderson, Rafa Marquez, Carlos Puyol as the back line. You got Xavi, who's all of 22 years, I think, at this point. Gerard and Ronaldinho as the midfield trio. And then you got Luis Enrique, Sergio Garcia, and Quaresma in the attack. It's just a lot of great names, especially also if you're looking at Sevilla and Notario in goal. David Alfaro Navarra and Dani Alves in the defense, and it took me about 40 minutes to figure out this is actually the Dani Alves. Marti Casquero as the holding midfielders, Jose Antonio Reyes on the left wing, Gallardo on the right wing, and Baptiste and Silva up top. So it's a bit of a 4-3-3 running into 4-4-2, with the outside midfielders a bit higher pushed up. And going into this match, of course, I was going to pay more attention to Barca and, of course, Ronaldinho. Barca are really quick to seize control in the match. Xavi gets an early look at goal after pushing into the box, but he misses the target altogether. Ronaldinho starts a bit deeper than I would have thought. He's on the number 10 role nominally, so basically the highest point in the midfield triangle in the 4-3-3 with Gerard as the deepest point. And he's threatening right away with runs starting inside his own half, and has Camp Nou gasping after 5 minutes, already pulling off an outrageous backheel pass into the path of Sergio Garcia. I think they were maybe a bit surprised with what they got here, because the replay just completely misses the pass and just starts at the shot. So I think they needed some time until they figured out how to properly showcase Ronaldinho's talents. Sevilla showed their pressing and counter strength after 7 minutes, having a goal ruled out for offside. On the next breakaway counter, though, they can only be stopped via foul. Nobody can catch Reyes in the midfield, so it's Valdés who brings down Silva in the box after Reyes had laid off the ball. So after 10 minutes already, it's a penalty to Sevilla, converted by Reyes, low and to the left. Valdés got the wrong corner, no chance from there. And this really sends Barca reeling. They're launching quite a few long balls directly to the wingers. Marquez just really hoofs the ball up there. The wingers are really the key to Barca's play here. They either have them go into a one-on-one or ping the ball back into the second line and move the winger then behind the defense for a through ball, which they don't really consequently. They establish that early on, but they don't really follow up during the match and do that properly. Quaresma on the right wing is much more offensive minded than Luis Enrique on the left, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, they could have switched that over because you have Reyes on the same wing, so with Quaresma just up top not helping in defense, that doesn't really help anything to stifle Reyes. And the lead, of course, is playing into Sevilla's hands. Tactically, they had looked to counter and can now sit back, soak up the pressure, and just hit back with the breakaway attacks. And they do actually get quite a lot of opportunities, because Barca side, if you think of them now during the odds, and especially like during Pep's days, if they could do anything, then it's retaining possession just for its own sake and basically defending with the ball. But here they have a lot of high-risk passes in the final third, which is fine, of course, but they're outnumbered in central midfield, and it's just a chicken coop and build-up play, because a couple of players in the back line are just pelting the balls upfield aimlessly, or you get the fullbacks in one-on-one situation, still in the deepest third, and just passing the ball straight into the feet of the attacker. They showed Pep in the stands. I think he would have gone wild if that would have been his side, because that's just so completely different to what we'd be seeing later on with this Barcelona side. So after the first half, it's really Sevilla leading comfortably, and there's little going on for Barcelona, hardly any goal threat. the noise level really only rises when Ronaldinho's on the ball. He is their most dangerous weapon in attack for Barcelona, even though you already see how he will influence the play during the season and then the following years, but it's just not quite happening with this setup. I mean, they're playing together for the second or third time. It's the second match day. It's just a home debut. They've had a match day before, but yeah, it's Ronaldinho either picking out the pass for the striker or dribbling into the box himself. It's all well defended by Sevilla though, and even though I can't really understand much from the Catalan commentary, obviously, after half an hour he draws Maradona comparisons. I figured that much out. And it's quite apt, I would say, but the way he's carrying himself there on the pitch. He looks like he belongs to Barca. Maybe a couple of others aren't quite up to the par. Very few actual goal chances on either end. As the first half progresses here, Barca are dominant. Yeah, this this brings up the scene where I actually made the connection to Dani Alves because he gets the ball off Quaresma in a one-on-one situation. There's a couple of points with Quaresma later on, but yeah, it was kind of surprising that Dani Alves didn't really have that much attacking output in this match because the wings were open for the fullbacks to push up. They didn't really do that much, probably because the Sevilla wingers were so free to go forward, and then they probably relied on the fullbacks to cover for that offensive mindset. 37 minutes gone, free kick to Barcelona in a good position, 19 yards out, maybe even a bit too close to goal. Of course, it's Ronaldinho. He gets the ball over the wall, but it's also a foot over the bar. A couple of minutes later is a replay of an incident shown, which must have been missed by everybody live. It's Quaresma with a nonchalant elbow to the face of a Sevilla player. Doesn't really get any punishment. Yeah, best chance for Barcelona just before the halftime. Sergio misses an open goal after rounding the keeper. Neat through ball from Xavi splitting the center defense, and just when you thought that would be that for halftime, it all kicks off from an innocuous aerial duel between Luis Enrique and Alfaro, which ends up in a fracas involving at least a dozen players, and Navarro full out strangling Luis Enrique, which is sorted by the referee with a couple of token yellow cards, which rightly should have been a shade darker, really. Barca, to their credit, come out on the front foot after the break. They try to get Ronaldinho involved more in that central playmaker role. While he was dangerous going forward, it was really only... They didn't really know yet how to run their play through him, I imagine. And even here, like, they try to get him involved more, it doesn't really come off often enough. Danger only arises from set pieces. Also rarely get into good scoring positions. The starkest thing contrasting this with Barca a couple of years later is really that they are not getting into that 6-yard box where the high quality goal chances would come from. Those cutback passes from the goal line are just missing, and it's much more often just diagonal passes from the second line of attack forward into the box, which of course is easily defended by Sevilla. Quaresma getting a bit more lively, looking for more one-on-one opportunities and takedowns now as well. And the best thing to be said for Barcelona is really, as the second half kicks off, that they're keeping Sevilla away from Valdez's goal, even though Reyes still shows his danger with pace and just snapping from defense to offense so quickly on the counter. After an hour has gone, just when you thought at 1:30 a.m. the first fans might have been falling asleep, Ronaldinho blows the roof off the place, gets the ball just inside Sevilla's half, gathers pace, skips past two opponents, and unleashes an ungodly cannon of a shot 35 yards out, squeezes it right through the outstretched hand of the goalie and the bar, gets like the lip of the bar, bounces onto the line and into the roof of the net. It's just an amazing goal. Like, if that's your home debut, amazing. And that's the level of single brilliance that they needed. It Spurs on the Barcelona side. Quaresma tries a shot basically from the goal line. Got no angle. Of course, it's not happening. But everybody really seems to be shifting up a gear. At the same time, you still wouldn't get the sense that a 2-1 and the win is inevitable, like you would get nowadays, or up until quite recently with Barcelona. They just seem to be lacking that last bit of cleverness and that killer instinct of great sides. Case in point, after 70 minutes, it's Luis Enrique missing in half open goal, with Notario already prone on the ground. And towards the end of the match, it just gets too unimaginative. Barcelona just lobbing crosses into the box or shooting from distance, and they probably did end up with 20 shots, but pretty much all of them were from outside the box. And if you're just threatening with harmless rollers, you're not gonna get many great looks at goal on that. Both sides become stretched and break into a bit of a defense-offense split, which also opens up the space for Sevilla on the counter-attacks. And in the last 10 minutes or so, they did have some breakaway attacks in there, even though it did look like they're quite happy to settle for the 1-1 draw. They still look dangerous on the break. The match is disrupted by a number of substitutions late on. One of them sees a 19-year-old Iniesta introduced, only with 2 minutes left, so you can't really do much. There's a penalty shout just before the final whistle, and about par for the course, when the replay gets shown, there's a big graphic laid over it where it announces like the next match or something, and you can't really see the tackle. So if that was well played or was a foul, nobody knows nowadays. In the end, it draws certainly fair result. Match would likely have been more interesting, I imagine, if Sevilla hadn't gone ahead so early and would have to contribute more to the match. That said, you can't really fault them for that. I think they played their match very well. They did better than Barcelona on their end. By 2 a.m. I think, like, if you're in the company, you might have felt that this season wasn't going to be so easy. Like, you can kind of figure how Barcelona will have trouble breaking down teams that just set up and defend, and they lack that cohesive strategy to break those sort of teams down, and probably will be very reliant on the exploits of Ronaldinho. And it would turn into one of the weirdest seasons for Barca in recent times. They would fall as low as 12th in the table, still in January, but then turn it around in the second half of the season to finish runners-up behind Valencia. Sevilla, just for the record, would end the season in 6th place, 22 points behind the champions. Just very quickly now, the awards for the match. Man of the match must be Jose Antonio Reyes. Best hair goes to Javi Navarro, and the viewing recommendation gets a profound not worth it to go back 90 minutes. Look at the goal for Ronaldinho, watch that on repeat, and you're done with it. It's just not a match to go back into. So yeah, that's a quick look back at the home debut for Ronaldinho with Barcelona. Hoping to bring you a couple more of these retro recaps as we go through the season, advancing towards the Champions League final of 03-04. Got a couple of matches earmarked, which might also feature a particularly interesting setting. Follow us on Twitter at YYFPOD. Find us on Facebook.com/YYFPOD. And so long, we say goodbye.